What's up guys, Spin Firearms here, and I have two of the most popular everyday carry options, the Glock 43X being one of the most sold firearms of the last couple years, and the Canik MC9 being a newer offering from Canik, but has all the rave behind it, all the hype behind it, and so on. Now, they're pretty similar priced. I got my 43X without the rail and not MOS for about $450, and I got the Canik for a little over $400, right? But obviously I did add red dots to them and I changed the slide and stuff. But just picture this as an OEM Glock 43X. 10 rounds, 12 rounds. Let's get into the size comparison just to start off. So obviously the Canik, let me move my camera, sorry guys. The Canik MC9 is obviously going to be thicker all around, right? But very similar in length, although the Glock 43X barrel is longer if you look at it like that. I believe 3-inch barrel, and then the Glock 43X has a 3.4-inch barrel. But they're the same length slide. Now let's get into width. Obviously the slide is much thinner on the 43X, but when it comes down to the grip, I think the grip's actually similar in size, maybe a little thicker. 12 rounds on the right, 15 plus 1 on the left with shield arms mags, or 10 plus 1 on the left with OEM mags, right? Very decent comparison, but I think the Canik is beating it when it comes to the OEM mags. Also, they have a 15-round mag that comes with this, which would probably sit pretty even to the 43X, and that comes standard right out of the box, and it's a magazine manufactured for this firearm from that company or Metgar or whoever makes their magazines. Whereas the 43X, you have to go get shield arms mags to make it 15 plus 1. Now, I haven't put a ton of rounds through it, but the Canik MC9, what I like about it is the recoil is so minimal. I think this is the best shooting Micro 9 when it comes to recoil. Is it my favorite Micro 9? Not yet. But when it comes to recoil, this heavy slide and this tall slide really handles that recoil really well. And I really like that. Also, the trigger is good. I'm not completely in love with it. I just got to get used to it. But it is a good overall trigger. The ergonomics are definitely on point. And this is my size firearm. I think it's closer to like a 26 versus something like a 43X or a P365 and so on. And this one came with a rail. Awesome, awesome setup. Things I like about the 43X is it's a Glock, so you get Glock reliability. On top of that, the ergonomics are amazing on the 43X. It fits your hand like a gosh darn glove. I'm not kidding you. Throw some handle edge series grips on it and you're going to have an awesome, awesome everyday carry setup. It's just harder for me to conceal firearms like this. I wish Glock would have made the 10-round mag this long and then have a 15-round that's a little extended. That way I can conceal it better, still with capacity. But if I wanted a longer magazine, do what basically every other Micro 9 company has done, where they give you a flush-fitting mag and then a little bit longer. Now, the ergonomics are better on the 43X. The trigger's better on the MC9. This has a rail, which you can get the MOS version with a rail and MOS, like I said, but that's like $100, $150 cheaper. This comes with it right out of the box, optic cut. Haven't had any reliability issues. One thing I did notice though is the drag on this firearm is different from like a 43X. This runs like absolute butter, smooth as can be. When you're racking the slide, it's super easy. When you're shooting, you realize that slide is in full function and it's flying. Whereas the Canik, when you rack that first, even let's say I just put 10 rounds in there, right? Not a full magazine. When you rack that first round, there's some drag in there. And that just makes me nervous. I'm not sure why that's there, but it does make me nervous for wearing down in the future, because it's obviously that there's some metal on metal contact that's not allowing it to function how I thought it would. But maybe that's just Canik. Maybe that's part of the design. But I did notice when you rack that slide, even dry fire practice and stuff, you do notice some drag. When it comes down to reliability, zero issues with either. I just trust Glocks more than any other firearm in the world. And that's just because I have so many of them and they just all run. Even with the aftermarket parts, as long as you use good quality stuff, they all just run no matter what, no matter the condition. The Canik, I just don't have enough rounds through it yet. But I can tell it's a shooter. Right out of the box, it's a shooter, ready to go. Maybe I'm going to be changing out some sights on it. But other than that, it's a shooter. You can get 2 fingers on it. 3 fingers with the 15-round mag, but I just got to get used to that grip angle because I'm so used to the Glock grip angle. You see how much different it is. But I love my 43X. I love my MC9. Honestly, if you had asked me at this moment, which one would I take? Flip a coin. All depends on preference. All depends on your hand. Oh yeah, another thing I'll say. Look at the triggers. Look how small the Glock trigger is, and look how big that Canik trigger is. I honestly didn't like that about the Canik. I'm not sure why that trigger is so big, but I'm not a fan of that. It's still a great shooter. It's just personal preference, where I'm so used to my tiny Glock triggers They just run, they just work. But both are great firearms. Honestly, I love them both. I would consider this more of a Micro 9 than the 43X because it's a compact size in frame. But whereas this, you can remove, you can use the 12-round mag, and it's going to be more micro compact, but bigger than all the other micro compacts. So great firearms. Have nothing against either. Like I said, flip a coin. But all I know is once I get a holster from my MC9, this is going in the rotation. Thanks for watching.